I'm not here to say that Christians can't be Christians. You want to pray to whatever God you want to pray to? Go ahead. You want to read whatever religious text you want? Go ahead. You want to worship in whatever house of worship you want to? Go ahead. That's religious freedom. When you demand other people adhere to your religion in public, you are crossing a line.
For so long in this country, we've used religion as a reason to divide people. Everyone is entitled to their faith. But under the law, everyone has to be treated equal.
Can you elaborate on what the oral argument was today in the Supreme Court?
Our contention is that the government does not have the authority, consistent with the First Amendment, to force people to use their artistic talents to create a message that they conscientiously disbelieve.
I'm here today to support Charlie and David and to support the larger movement that they're standing for, which is to end discrimination against minority groups in public businesses.
Jack, this guy who makes the cakes or whatever, it's called a private business, and he serves, yes, the public that he chooses to serve. He don't make cakes for the whole country. He makes it to people who come in and decides to make who he's going to make a cake for. So that's his private business owner's decision.
Came down here to be with people, then they say they don't want to be on TV because they don't want to lose their job. Because anytime you're against a lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender organization, which is a terrorist organization, you'll lose your job.
The only difference between right-wing Christians in America and ISIS is the religion that they pervert, the religious symbol that they wear, and that the Christians in this country, on the most part, are not violent yet.
One of the gentlemen here protesting, Jack Phillips, calls you ISIS. What do you think about that?
He called me ISIS because he's totally confused. That's why, because ISIS push homosexuals off of buildings and they behead homosexuals.
If I love Trump and I go into a bakery and ask them, a t-shirt shop and ask them to make a t-shirt of me and Trump, and they deny me because they hate Trump, is that also discriminatory?
If that t-shirt company has a policy that they don't do a particular kind of language for everybody, then it's not discriminatory.
What do you say to the large leftist crowd that was here earlier, and they say Jack Phillips is ISIS and this is discrimination against homosexuals?
Well, they don't understand the difference between discrimination against a person and a message. Jack has clearly served LGBT people in the past and will do so in the future, offered to sell these two gentlemen a variety of products, anything other than a custom wedding cake, because he serves all people. But he doesn't create all messages. He doesn't create Halloween messages. He doesn't create messages that demean people, including one time he turned away an anti-LGBT cake that people asked him to make.
Is it right that Muslims also refuse to serve a gay couple?
Well, not one Muslim bakery in this country has ever refused to bake a cake for a gay couple.
But what do you think would happen if we went into a Muslim bakery and asked for a gay wedding cake? No need to wonder, we did it for you. What's really important is getting the picture and the writing. So it's going to be me and Benny. Well, you have pictures there.
No, on the machine, you have in the program.
Wait, you would tell me to go somewhere across the street. And I wanted to say Ben and Stephen forever on the top. And then on the bottom it'll say, same-sex, legal now, congratulations. But everyone keeps sending me somewhere else. They said this is what you do here.
No, I don't want it.
It just seems weird that you would send me to Oh, I don't, okay, well let's even say no picture, but you can write on it, Ben loves Stephen forever, and have our hands maybe holding.
No.
No. But we want at least the writing, so, groom and groom.
Yeah.
There's two grooms.
Wedding?
Yeah, a wedding.
What is the wedding?
Wedding is for, two people getting married. Of course, many of the Muslim bakeries were kind enough and willing to serve us. But many of them were not. For Christians, it only took one lawsuit. Yet the media never acknowledges the giant burqa'd elephant in the room.
I'm not saying, you know, my friends, I grew up in a town filled with Muslims. They support LGBT rights. They let me play with their kids. They don't support discrimination against LGBT people.
There has been Muslim bake shop owners who have refused to bake wedding cakes too for gay people, but there's no backlash against them. Why is that?
Homosexual community will take all kinds of indignity and they will embrace the ultra brand of Islam. They will respect them and they will champion them at the same time that these guys are preaching throwing homosexuals off roofs and other stuff like that. So, in other words, there's a tremendous double standard here.
Had this couple walked into a Muslim bakery and not been served, then perhaps we would be here with Muslims on the other side. But he did not. He walked into a bakery of a man who professes Christianity, professes to be a follower of an Afro-Semitic Palestinian who was born on the wrong side of the tracks, who was ostracized by many. That is his profession. And in that person's name, in Jesus' name, he now wants to ostracize others. It is wrong.
Jack Phillips should not be forced to create art that celebrates same-sex weddings. Another artist would not be able to be forced to violate his or her conscience as well, no matter what the topic is.
You think this is a war against Christianity that this case is about?
Absolutely, positively, no question that this is a war on Bible-believing people of all faiths. And in particular, they're starting up now with the big boy on the block, the evangelical Christians. But we understand we're a minority of a minority of Jews. But we understand, first they'll come for the Christians, they'll come for the Jack Phillips, then they'll go for other people, and finally they'll come to us.
Isn't this anti-Christian discrimination that we're seeing now? If Jack were a Muslim, would we be seeing the same backlash?
The religious disparity that's apparent on the record of this case actually came up pretty strongly in the oral argument. One of the commissioners said some pretty nasty things about the Christian faith and about religion in general. Another commissioner the comments were cited, and their disparity of treatment between this case and 3 cakes that were on the opposite side of the same-sex marriage question were very differently handled, and all that form of discrimination was prominent in the questioning today. So it's not just you and me saying that there's discrimination. Justices on the Supreme Court of the United States were very concerned about that.
Can you tell me more about what the First Amendment is?
My familiarity with the First Amendment is that it is granting freedom of speech, freedom of press, I'm pretty sure, and it's saying that in America you have the ability to say whatever you want and basically do what you want. But I also think that when you have like a public store or a public franchise, that you don't get to just say like, oh, I don't want to serve you because you are part of this identity and I don't agree with you. And I think the First Amendment, like many other amendments, is really tricky because you can find loopholes in all of them.
Doesn't the First Amendment also cover freedom of religion?
Yeah, and we do have freedom of religion in this country, but we also have separation of church and state, which means that you can't just discriminate against a whole group of people because of your religion. And we have...
He's a private... he owns a private business. How is that the state discriminating against the gay couple?
He owns a business, but his business is open to the public. It's not like has a business where, like his business is open to the public, which basically means that anybody can come in and he has to serve them. And although he has the right to refuse, that doesn't apply to like discriminating against whole groups of people just because of their identities.
The court system here has made many wrong decisions. Don't know what they're going to say about this, but they told and said at one time that black people weren't even human. So that shows you how fallible the Supreme Court is.
I think we have a really good shot of winning, not just 5-4, but even maybe 6-3.
And what cases do you think set the precedent for that?
The most important precedent that we relied on today was the Hurley case, which was about the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Boston about 20 years ago, that a gay group wanted to have a gay marching banner and put their message into the organization, the Irish Association, that was putting on the parade. And they said, no, you can't hijack our parade with your message. And that's the same thing that we're arguing here, is that the same-sex couple cannot hijack Jack Phillips' artistic talents with their message that he doesn't want to create.